Hey everybody, welcome back. Where today, this is technically a leaks video for Scarlet and Violet, but like it's the lightest of light leaks. You're really not gonna get spoiled on anything in the game. We're really just talking about some moveset changes for existing Pokemon, and they're like Pokemon that I'm not even gonna like mention the specific Pokemon that are in the game. It's just like moves that don't exist anymore, really, and like ability changes for some Pokemon that we already know are going to be in the game, like regardless of leaks or not. That's pretty much all I'm talking about. It's just the way that some abilities work has also been changed, so nothing's really going to get spoiled. I'm actually not even 100% sure all of these Pokemon are going to be in the game at launch. It's just like the data for the abilities and stuff is in there because they have to be in there, you know, for them to exist eventually. So that's what we're talking about today. Very, very light leaks, very, very light spoilers. These are going to be really important for competitive Pokemon, so I want to talk about it with you guys. The first thing, I'm all the way at the wrong end of my list. Hold on. The first thing I wanted to talk about are the Hisuian Pokemon. Most of them, or maybe like half of them, I think most of them, they have different abilities than they had in the Pokemon Home data mines. So we're going to talk about that first. First up, we have Sneasler. Instead of Poison Touch, it gets Unburden. Or it just has Unburden as its hidden ability. Very, very cool. Low-key kind of called that some of these Hisuian forms were not going to have the same abilities, because they really just gave them all the same abilities as their regular counterparts, which doesn't make any sense. So some of these Pokemon have different abilities now. So Sneasler's new hidden ability is Unburden. Very cool ability. Sneasler is extremely fast, so like you could run Unburden Sneasler with no speed investment and outspeed things, which is really cool. Hisuian Goodra is gonna have Shell Armor instead of Overcoat, which is actually a big nerf, because Overcoat would have been amazing for it, and Shell Armor is really not as good. I feel like you'd be better off running Sap Sipper or Gooey, if I'm being completely honest. So that's kind of a nerf for Hisuian Goodra. Hisuian Braviary gets a big buff. Instead of Defiant, which is stupid, it never should have had Defiant, it gets Tinted Lens. And let me tell you, having Tinted Lens on a Pokemon with good attack stats is kind of amazing. Up until now, we've really only had Tinted Lens on like weird Pokemon that aren't really attackers. Like, I want to say Butterfree gets Tinted Lens, and like, what are you going to do with Tinted Lens Butterfree? You know what I mean? So having Tinted Lens on a Pokemon like this, I mean, it's Sheer Force is probably better a lot of the time, but having Tinted Lens is neat because it means that your attacks that are not very effective do extra damage. So instead of them resisting, instead of your damage being halved, it's only like a 25% reduction, which is really neat. Next up, Basculegion and Basculegion, both Basculegions. Instead of Rattled, which I was excited for, I made a whole video about how much I wanted Rattled Basculegion. Look at me, silly me. Or they're going to have Swift Swim, which is cool for them. I mean, honestly, they got good Swift Swim stats. So, like, Swift Swim's good for them. I just really wanted to play Rattled Basculegion, so I'm a little disappointed. I think this hurts the female one more than it hurts the male one, because I think the female one would have been like really cool with Rattled, but you know, we'll have to see what happens, because now we're going to be Swift Swim instead of Rattled. Next up, Hisuian Arcanine. It's still going to have Intimidate. It's still going to have Flash Fire, but instead of Justified, you get Rock Head, baby, which is fantastic for this Pokemon, because it means that Flare Blitz, you don't take recoil. I'm pretty sure, right? Yeah. Rockhead, you don't take recoil from recoil moves. So, Flare Blitz, you don't take recoil. If they give it, like, what is that rock move? Head Smash? Head Smash, yes. If they give it Head Smash, you don't take recoil from Head Smash. If it gets, like, Mind Blown somehow, you don't take recoil from Mind Blown. So, Rockhead's a really cool ability. Next up is Hisuian Decidueye. Instead of having long reach like regular Decidueye, it's actually going to have Scrappy, which means that your normal and ghost type moves, or your normal and fighting type moves, can hit ghost types, and you're immune to Intimidate, which is pretty darn good. This is a very small spoiler. Let me click away before you read it. There is a new ability here that is going to be on some of these Pokemon. If you don't want to see it, I will. What will I do? If you don't want to see it, I will. I'd just skip ahead like 30 seconds. or a minute or something like that. I want to say I'll put the timestamps, but I don't know if I'm going to remember. So if I didn't put the timestamps, I'm really sorry. But you can just skip ahead a little bit. But there is one new ability we're going to talk about. It's not anything crazy. I won't talk about any other Pokemon that get it or like what Pokemon is like introducing this ability. But it's a very cool ability. So we're going to talk about it really quick. And that's Sharpness. So what Sharpness does is it gives you a 50% damage increase to cutting moves, which is a new like type of move. So like Sacred Sword, does it even get any good other ones? Razor Shell is a cutting move. X Scissor probably. So any moves with like this new property that they have as cutting moves, they get a 50% chance if your Pokemon has the ability Sharpness. It's very, very cool. Hisuian Typhlosion gets a nerf because I feel like Flash Fire would have been better in every way. It's going to have Frisk instead, and Frisk is like okay for an ability, but I don't know. This isn't the kind of Pokemon you want to have Frisk on, you know what I mean? Cleavor also gets that new ability Sharpness, so it's new. And all of their signature attacks are in the game. They have all been modified to make sense in the game. I won't tell you exactly what they all do, but all of their signature attacks are in the game, and they have been modified to make sense in regular Pokemon, whatever that means. But yeah, so Cleavor gets Sharpness. It gets boosting on any cutting moves, and obviously it has Axes for hands, so it gets a lot of cutting moves. Very, very cool. The next Pokemon we're going to talk about is Gallade. Gallade got a new ability added. If you didn't know, Gallade only had a regular ability and a hidden ability. Well, now Gallade has 2 regular abilities, and it's Sharpness again, which is really cool because you get like Psycho Cut. I feel like Gallade's going to make a good use of this ability. It's a good ability for it to have. The next thing that we're going to talk about is Hail. And you know, I am a big lover of Hail. Hail is one of my children here on AndyLaVGC. So this is what's happening with Hail. It's gone. Hail doesn't exist anymore. We got a new weather. It's called Snow. And I'm not sure if you what Snow does is it gives all Ice-type Pokemon a it gives all Ice-type Pokemon a 50% defense boost in the snow. So kind of like what Sandstorm does for Rock types, but for Ice types and defense instead of special defense. And the other thing is I'm not completely sure if Pokemon still take damage in the snow. I looked several different places and I could not confirm whether or not Ice-type Pokemon still take damage in the snow, or whether Pokemon who are not Ice-type still take damage in the snow. We're just going to have to wait and see, or if somebody like spells it out for us. But I looked a bunch of different places and nobody seems to be able to confirm whether Pokemon take damage in the snow or not. So like I said, we'll just have to wait and see. That is kind of important because if Pokemon aren't taking damage in the snow, it makes snow still worse than Sandstorm because it's like 1 effect instead of 2 effects, but we'll see what happens. But this is really good for especially Alolan Ninetales because it's replacing it for everything. So Snow Warning sets Snow. Wow, that's crazy. And Aurora Veil can only be used in the snow. So Ninetales can set Aurora Veil, and Ninetales has really good bulk except for its defense. Well, now it gets a 50% boost to that defense. So you go from 75 base defense to like 120-ish, which is really good for Alolan Ninetales. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. Snow instead of Hail. We'll have to wait and see if you take damage or not. The next up, Intrepid Sword and Dauntless Shield have both been nerfed. They do in fact now only activate once per battle. So you only get your Intrepid Sword boost or your Dauntless Shield boost the first time that Pokemon enters battle. And if you switch out and switch back in, you will not get that boost again, which is nice. Zacian and Zamazenta also had some nerfs to their base stats. I want to say that Crowned Zacian has like 20 less attack and Crowned Zamazenta has like 20 less defense. I believe that's what they did, which makes sense because they're boosting that stat anyway. Like, for it to be so high is ridiculous. So now it only has 150 attack, which is more in line with a lot of other legendaries. Kind of reins it in just a little bit. The next ability change is for Protein and Libero. And it has been confirmed by leaks that Protein and Libero now only activate once per that Pokemon being on the field. So it only activates the first attack. So if I have Greninja, I click Map Block, I become Fighting type, and then that's it. My Protein doesn't activate anymore. I will be fighting type until I switch out and switch back in again. Which is a pretty big nerf of these abilities. I don't know if they needed it to be nerfed this bad, but if you're a really big fan of those Pokemon, I'm sorry. The other thing, there's two other things with Greninja while we're here. Mat Block is not a move that's in the game anymore, apparently. So that's something to keep in mind. A really funny move that only like 2 Pokemon got. Well, now nobody gets it. Nobody gets to have Mat Block. And then the last thing is that they also changed how Battle Bond works. So instead of like Mega Evolving, it says that your stat, you just get stat increases is what it looks like. So like you KO Pokemon and you get like +2 attack, +2 speed or something like that instead of getting like Mega Evolving into Ash Greninja. It also like removes any mention of Ash Greninja in the ability at all. So from what it sounds like, Battle Bond has been nerfed significantly, and maybe that means it can be allowed and we can just have Battle Bond Greninja exist. The next thing is 2 things that both have to do with Toxapex. I don't know if Toxapex is in the game, but if Toxapex is in the game, these are things that it's actually 3 things, I think. These are things that affect Toxapex very negatively. So Scald is basically no longer a move anymore. Every Pokemon that learns Scald no longer learns it except for Volcanion. Volcanion is the only Pokemon that learns Scald. Now, I don't think Volcanion is actually catchable in the game, but the data for it is in there because, you know, they want to do like event releases eventually. So every Pokemon except for Volcanion no longer learns Scald, which is just really weird. A lot of water types are going to hurt for this. There is a new move that kind of replaces it, but it's not nearly as good as Scald is. So just keep that in mind. The next thing is that Recover, and all of the moves that are like Recover, so like Recover, Milk Drink, why are those the only 2 I can remember right now? Shore Up? I think the weather dependent ones didn't get nerfed. Recover, Milk Drink, Slack Off, etc., etc., etc. were nerfed. Instead of having a maximum of 16 PP, they now only have a maximum of 8 PP, which is a pretty big nerf for stall teams and singles. It's gonna change how singles plays a lot, which is actually a good thing, I think, because stall teams are kind of a problem in singles if I am understanding correctly. So that's a thing. I've also heard that maybe Regenerator has been nerfed and it only heals 25% instead of 33%, but that's not confirmed. I couldn't like actually find it listed anywhere. I just heard people talking about it. So keep that in mind. That might or might not be true. But I think you know, there's those 2 changes. No more Scald and no, like Recover being nerfed by having less PP are pretty important changes. And my last thing is that apparently Crafty Shield is no longer in the game. I don't know why they took Crafty Shield out of the game. I don't think it was a problem. I feel like maybe they just wanted to reduce the number of Protect moves because now we have so many different Protect moves. But allegedly, Crafty Shield is no longer in the game. That's like Klefki's signature move, isn't it? That's crazy. Yeah, those are the things that I wanted to talk about. If there is there any of these like, do these hurt your feelings? Or like, do these make you particularly sad, particularly happy? Let me know down in the comments. We can have a big old discussion about it. Don't go crazy with talking about leaks because, you know, there may be some people down there in the comments that don't want to have the whole game spoiled to them. But you can talk about anything I've talked about in this video, anything small that isn't really like a leak, but just like a small mechanics change. Feel free to talk about it down in the comments. And with that, everybody, make sure you leave me a like, leave me a comment. Like I said, go have a whole discussion down there. And go ahead and subscribe. Scarlet and Violet comes out in what, 2 days? What's today? Monday? Today's Tuesday? Goddamn. It comes out in 2 days. Or, I mean, it comes out on Friday, but I'm going to be playing it at midnight on Thursday. I think on Twitch. I haven't decided where I want to stream yet, but I will let y'all know. I'll make like a community post or something. And yeah, just so subscribe for that. We're gonna be just chugging along. I got a lot of stuff that I'm excited to talk about when the game comes out. And with that, everybody, my name is Andrew. I'll catch you guys next time.